Welcome to the online lecture series of 12th Standard Maharashtra HSC Board. This is for English subject and the first lesson is the second lesson of the prose section, that is on saying please. This is an essay written by A.G. Gardiner. A.G. Gardiner is one of the famous essayists in English literature. We'll see more about the author. So now we see more about this author or about this essayist. So now A.G. Gardiner lived, or the full name is Alfred George Gardiner. He lived between 1865 and 1946. He was born in Chelmsford in Essex in 1865, but he started his literary career a bit late, and he started it as a journalist at the age of 37. He was appointed editor of the Daily News London. Under the pseudonym, he had a pseudonym or a pen name. He used to write essays under this name, and this pseudonym is Alpha of the Plum. So that is the name he adopted for writing essays in different newspapers. He made regular contributions to Daily News, the Manchester Evening News, etc., many other newspapers. Now, the peculiarity of his essay is that they are uniformly elegant and graceful and humorous. Now, he has written some collections of essays: The Pillars of Society, Pebbles on the Shore, Many Furrows, and Leaves in the Wind are some of his best known writings. Now, his uniqueness lies in the ability to teach the basic truths of life in an essay, in an amusing manner. He raised questions of morality in everyday life through his humorous essays. So now we are going back to page number 13 to get an introduction about this lesson. There you can see some icebreakers are given, and these icebreakers help us to get introduced to this lesson very clearly. Now you can see the words of courtesy, and two columns are given. And words of courtesy are words we use when we want to speak politely with people, or we want to have good communication with people, when we want to make people happy through our communication. And these words can change the mood of the listener. And here are some words which I am going to add. For example, when you are hurting somebody and you feel regret about that, you can use sorry. And you can use please when you want to get something from others. You can use excuse me when you want someone to allow you to pass by. And you can use hello when you meet people for the first time. And you can use thank you when you want to thank some people for something that you have got from them. And when somebody says thank you, you can respond by using you are welcome. Then there is the how are you. It's also you are asking when you meet people for the first time. And then you can respond, I am fine, thank you. So this is the words of courtesy, the courtesy that can make your communication very sweet. So these kind of words, if we use, then that becomes very interesting, okay, in our communication. And now we come to the second one. In this, listed below are a few character traits of people. Some are positive traits while the others are not. Tick the ones you feel are desirable, that means positive traits. So there are so many character traits given here, and we want to find out which are the positive traits here. And in this slide, if you see, I have given so many positive traits and negative traits. Whatever is matching with each other. For example, independent, the negative trait of independent is helpless, opposite. Courageous, cowardly. Imaginative, unimaginative. Skilled, incompetent. Expressive, ambiguous. Enthusiastic, obsessive. Generous, selfish. Considering, frivolous. Concentrated, distracted. Intelligent, unintelligent. Confident, hesitant. Proud, pompous. Optimistic, pessimistic. Active, passive. Approachable, hostile. Observant, unobservant. Decisive, indecisive. Realistic, exaggerative. Resolute, stubborn. Sincere, indifferent. So like that you can see all these positive and negative traits. But in your textbook, here they are giving some, you have to find out some which are the positive traits. For example, humorous is a positive trait. Benevolent is a positive trait. Wise is a positive trait. Then humble is a positive trait. And generous is also a positive trait. Now the next one, there is one more question given. What is appropriate and what is inappropriate? And you can fill it up in the two columns. Appropriate, to knock before you enter your principal's office is appropriate. To thank the person who offers you tea or coffee is appropriate. To be polite and courteous to others is also appropriate. Now, what are the inappropriate things? To receive phone calls while you are in a lecture or class is inappropriate. To leave the classroom without teacher's permission is inappropriate. To occupy the seats reserved for ladies or physically challenged or elderly people on a bus or a train is also inappropriate. So, by this you understood that we in our daily life we have to show some kind of positive way or courteous way when you are dealing with people that make our communication or that makes our impression very nicely, especially when you are growing up or when we are growing up in our life. As much as we can become courteous and good mannered, that much we can become successful in our life. So this essay is very important in that terms too, that how a person can become successful in his daily life by becoming more and more using, we call it as soft skills, to become a very polite, cultured person or courteous person. So this is what this essay is all about. So we are going through this essay to find out more how A.G. Gardiner is telling that in our daily life, how much importance is that we have to remain courteous or how much we have to remain as a good mannered person to become successful in our communication, in our career, and in our everyday life. Coming back to this essay, it's a very beautiful essay written by this famous essayist Alfred George Gardner, and we have already seen how much importance or the value of good manners in our social life, and emphasize the importance of courtesy and politeness in our daily behavior. He shows how polite speech and manner sweeten the atmosphere around us, and how discourtesy and ill manners spoil and pollute it. So there are two things. If you are showing courtesy, you can sweeten the atmosphere, and if you are showing discourtesy or ill manners, then definitely it can pollute the atmosphere around you. So that is what the author is trying to point out through this essay. He also says that there is another important factor he is pointing out, and that is like good behavior, bad behavior is also contagious. So it is contagious. It can spread faster. It can spread to others. Whatever good manners we are showing will be spread to others. Somebody may be having good manners and he can meet everybody as good people because he spread that goodwill among the people. So, like good manners, bad manners, like bad manners, good manners is also contagious, and both can make a lot of influence on people around us or those meeting us in our daily life. So, if you are becoming successful in your daily life, it is because you are very courteous person or you are very good mannered person. That makes people successful in our daily life. So this is what we are going to see in this essay, and A.G. Gardiner uses some instances from public and shows us the importance and the value of being a good mannered person. So that is all about this essay. So now coming to the first paragraph of this essay. And in this essay, we can see a real life happening which the author is describing. And this story is about a liftman, very young liftman, and in a city office. And this liftman was offended one day because one passenger was very arrogant with him. So many passenger daily comes and he transport them from the lower floor or the ground floor to different floors of that particular office. But unfortunately, one of the passenger was very rude. He came and shouted at him, "Top." Liftman politely asked him, "Please stay, please tell, please stop, top please." But the adamant passenger refused to say please. The adamant passenger wanted to go to the top floor. He just shouted top. The liftman felt very insulted. In such cases, sometimes your self-respect is being challenged. You know that if somebody hits you, you will be in pain, but that pain will not last long. After a few minutes, the pain may go and you may not feel it. Sometimes you may have feeling for it, but when you are being offended by somebody by using abusive words or harsh words or talking in a bad tone, then the pain goes into your heart and it can remain with you for a long time. The passenger showed discourtesy by not saying please. But the problem is that saying these kind of courteous words are not legally binding. You don't have to tell these words. And if you don't say these words, nobody is going to punish you. But what happened later is that the liftman got very angry. He could not control his anger and he threw the passenger out of the lift. And what is the result? The liftman was punished, whereas the passenger was not punished. The liftman got the punishment, whereas the passenger was not punished at all. So that is what the author wants to make the point. There is no punishment for discourtesy, but there can be punishment for physical hurting or physical for fight. Now, when we come further in this paragraph, the author is trying to describe about some cases where physical assault doesn't invite punishment. And that is the case when a burglar comes to your house. All other case, if anybody is physically assaulting somebody, he can be punished if the complaint goes. So here also in the case of liftman and the passenger, the liftman was punished or fined by the authorities. Maybe the authorities of the office where he was working, because the passenger went and complained that this liftman was not allowing him to go to the top floor by his lift. So he was fined. So he has got double punishment. One is he is hurt by the harsh words, and now again he got some fine from his authorities. Okay, so that is the outcome of that incident. But the other wants to prove something more. He wants to say that in some cases you can use physical punishment, or physically you can retaliate, or you can take revenge on people, especially when a burglar comes to your house and try to steal things. You can use reasonable amount of violence against him. You can defend yourself by using violence. You can attack him back. So that is the case of only case where a person is allowed to use physical violence against somebody and will can go without getting punished. And again, the author wants to say that the in no case the physical or the verbal abuse or verbal words or angry words, uh, bad manners is punished. So that is what the author wants to say. Anyone can be haughty or boorish or uncivil, even hurt people's feelings, the feelings of others, without having any punishment or any penalty. So that is again the reason why in that incident the liftman was punished, whereas the passenger was not punished at all. The author says that violence is unjustified. If someone is impolite, we cannot be violent with him or her. Lord does not give us liberty to use the violence or hitting people in their ears and noses because we did not like their behavior, or the tone of their voices, or the scowl of their faces. Violence is not justified because it will only lead to further violence. So that is why violence is not allowed for people when somebody abuses you. If somebody you hit, he will hit back, and all the city will be in violence. And that is why he is telling, the author is making out, our fits would never be idle in such cases, and the gutters of the city would run with blood all the day. So that is so. Even if I am uncivil, discourteous, the law will not protect me against violence. There is no penalty for being haughty, proud, or boorish, rude, and uncultured. The law cannot compel me to show good manners like saying please or speaking in bad terms. Okay, so that is, there is no punishment for such actions. Either you cannot retaliate, nor the law will take any legal punishment for such kind of person. So no punishment for haughty, uncivil, boorish person than being called as an ill-mannered person. The law cannot compel people to be polite. No compensation for victim of abuse or hurt, hurted feelings. So that is, only punishment for such person is that he may be or can be called as an ill-mannered person. So that is all for being verbally abusive or haughty or angry. According to author, the liftman was more acutely hurt because of his social standing. He is inferior in his job. That is the only, that such people are easily hurt when they are abused. That is what author is telling. The passenger abused a person in low social ranking, and in that case the pain inflicted is more. The author says he may have taken a long time to recover from his feelings, from the mental agony caused by the incident. Maybe after reaching his home and meeting his wife in the evening and discussing this matter with her. So that is what the author wants to say regarding verbal abuse or being angry with somebody. So it doesn't invite any punishment, and one who gets, or one who is at the receiving end, is more having more pain when somebody abuses him. Now the author wants to say a little more in this paragraph and want to say that bad manners and good manners are contagious, infectious. So that is what the author is trying to say. And he is quoting a scene from the Sherdian play Rivals, in the play The Rivals. He says that when Anthony Absolute bullied Captain Absolute, the latter went out and bullied his man, Fag, whereupon Fag went out downstairs and kicked the page boy. So you can see one reaction goes on reacting to another. The same way may have happened here as well, according to the author. According to the author, probably the man who set top to the liftman was really only getting back on his employer, who had not said good morning to him because he himself had been unpacked at the breakfast by his wife, to whom the cook had been insolent because the housemaid had answered her back. So you can see the infectious reaction here, how the infection spreads from one person to another, how people are becoming infected by bad manners. So that is what the author is telling here. So we have seen that there is a chain reaction happening when, or the reason why the passenger who came to the liftman was haughty with the liftman. So you have seen that it transferred from one individual to another because the first person was being offended by somebody. So here is a jumbled order of the same thing happened here. But we have to make them in order. This is one kind of questions that can come in your examination. So here you can see housemaid, wife, cook, passenger, liftman, and employer. So when you make it in order, first to is housemaid, then to cook, then to wife, wife to employer, employer to passenger, and passenger to liftman. So that is the chain reaction that happened, or the contagious, infectious reaction that happened that made the passenger to become haughty or angry with the liftman. So that is the I just this slide shows how the questions can come or activities can come in your examination. Further, the author is going on describing how infectious or how dangerous had bad manners. He is telling that it can be more or it is telling it or it can be more than probably do more poison the stream of general life than all the crimes in the calendar. For once again he is telling no decalogue or Ten Commandments could cover the area of offenses, and no court could administer a law which governed our social activities. So he's telling it's very, very difficult, or it's the bad manners are so dangerous that it can cause a lot of harm. Suddenly, anybody can become so bad that suddenly a good husband can become bad, or anybody can become bad because somebody was being offensive towards him, and that make him uh, angry towards other. Okay, so this can be contagious. That's very dangerous. Any moment a good person also can become suddenly bad because he was having some bad treatment from somebody else. So that is what the author is telling. So now he is going to tell us the importance of good manners. The importance of good manners. Politeness and good manners are the basic requirement of civility. Please or thank you are small words, but these magical words can have a great effect on the mutual relationship. Or the author is telling they put our intercourse upon the basis of a friendly cooperation an easy give and take instead of on the basis of superior dictating to inferior. So all these things can be very good in our daily life. Again, he is telling that they ensure smooth give and take and friendly cooperation between individuals instead of superior dictating to inferior. So when you use these mild words, you can actually make your environment very happy and friendly. So that can create a lot of change or lot of sweetness around you. So that is the importance of good manners. Now the author wants to prove his point and want to give us some lively example from the day-to-day life. He is telling the story of his from that he has experienced in his own life. He is telling the story of a polite conductor. Uh, so he's calling this conductor as polite conductor and telling that it is not surprising that some of the conductors behave a little rude with passengers because the job demands that kind of an attitude sometimes because they have a hectic schedule and a work environment is also tough for them. So sometimes they become a little haughty and aggressive manner. But he's telling that there are some who are different. Now he's telling that he is paying tribute to the Underground Railway Company who is training the conductors to become more courteous towards traveling public. And he's telling it's a kind of social service that this company is doing. Now he's going on and describing how he discovered this polite conductor. And he is telling from his own experience how he happened to travel one day without having money in his pocket. And that is the way how he discovered him. But before that, unfriendly bus conductor, a general scene, many bus conductors don't have good relationship with their passengers. They think the passengers are natural enemies who want to cheat. They try to control the passenger by a loud voice and aggressive manner. So this is, he is telling, quite common, or you cannot help it because conductors work is that. But in this kind of situation you can find somebody who is rare and very cooperative and very friendly and very courteous, and that conductor he is going to describe. Now the author is telling the friendly, good-natured bus conductor. The writer had a very good experience from a bus conductor who was very polite and passenger friendly. So he is telling that story. And that story he is telling that one day the writer boarded his bus and he is telling that story further. So that story is like this. One day the writer boarded his bus and found that he has forgotten his purse at home and had no money with him. He was penniless. Generally, in such cases, the bus conductors treat the passengers with anger and doubt and hatred, assuming that such passengers are cheaters. But this good natured conductor or the polite conductor understood the condition of the writer. The writer told the bus conductor that he wanted to go back home and to get his purse, to get the purse, but the conductor made him feel comfortable and offered him a ticket for free. That is a kind of generosity and kindness that this conductor showed. That is very rare. On another occasion, so he is telling one incident like that, and the author was so much taken aback by this kind of attitude by this conductor. But in the author is telling that the man, when even though he was telling that he don't have money, the conductor was willing to offer him a ticket. He was not at all bothered about the person whom he is a stranger he has offered. So that is a kind of kindness and generosity that this conductor has shown. So now we can see that he was give a ticket, okay, and luckily and at last you can see after some time he was going around his pocket and found that he had money with him, a few shillings or a few pennies, shillings were with him, and he could give the money, and that was quite. But he is telling, even though I could give back the money, but the kind of attitude the conductor showed changed everything in his life. He was were really taken aback by this kind of attitude by this conductor. And he is telling about another one more incident to prove that this conductor was very nice, or he could not resist the charming, courteous nature shown by this conductor. And he's telling about the second incident. On another occasion, this same conductor friend unknowingly trampled on the authors or the writers too. The writer was very badly hurt and was angry, but since the conductor was so nice and polite and apologizing, he told the real fact that why he was wearing a hard boot and all those things, and the way that he apologized. The writer bore the pain silently and told him that he was not hurt. Even though the writer was hurt, he was forced to tell because of the nice conduct by this conductor made him to tell that I am not at all hurt. Don't worry. The conductor friend's attitude, good patience, and tried his best to make the passenger feel very comfortable. This is the kind of attitude this conductor has shown every time, and that made the passenger feel at home in his bus, or very comfortable in his bus, or having a very friendly, sweet atmosphere in this bus. The author goes on describing that this conductor's bus was always an enjoyable journey with him. So now he is telling that how people became so comfortable in this bus conductor's bus, or this polite conductor's bus. The example of conductor's kindness are described by the author. If it was raining, he would invite passengers, telling that seats are vacant in the bus. With old people, he behaved affectionately like a son. He showed kindness to children like a father. He cared the young people and always made fun with them. In case of a blind passenger, he would ask the driver to stop the bus, and he will go and then take this blind man off the road, but also took him across the road or round the corner wherever he want to be dropped, and then come back and board the bus. Till that bus time, that driver was asked to halt the bus. So this kind of friendly attitude he used to show in the bus, and this the author is telling irradiated such an atmosphere of good temper and kindness that the journey with him was a lesson in natural courtesy and good manners. So that is a kind of enjoyment for anybody. Anyone who wants to travel will be always happy to travel in this bus because of this kind of good nature and good manners shown by this polite conductor. Now, in the next paragraph, the author goes on describing the unique ways or the uniqueness of this polite conductor, by which he was being attracted to this conductor. He is telling bad manners are infectious, so as also good manners. And the most clear example is this conductor. The writer always was very pleased with the conductor's ways. He liked the ease with which he worked. Very easily he could work. If you are very polite and courteous person, you don't have to take tensions. If you are a very haughty, angry person, you have to take. You make others tensed, and you also are in tensed situation. So that is one of the advantage of being very polite and courteous. You don't want to have to work in a tensed situation. He worked with ease. If we you can see that the writer says that like bad manners, good manners are also infectious. If we come in contact with good-mannered person, we too become good. The bus conductor's good conduct, courtesy and sense of humor had positive impact on his passengers. It was transferred to his passengers and they were always behaving friendly with him. He was also behaving friendly with them. And the author is telling that a kind of he has highlighted this particular conductor's life or attitude. It was something like a blessing of a fine day. And so it was always a fine weather on the polite conductor's bus, and his own civility, his conciliatory address, and good humored bearing infected his passengers. In lightening their spirits, he lightened his own task. So that is very important. As much as you make others at ease, your task also becomes less. His gaiety was not wasteful luxury, but a sound investment for him because he could work in a very, very pleasant environment. It was good for his passengers, but it was equally good for him because he could work in a very, very friendly environment. Working in a friendly environment and working in a hostile environment is different. The conductor attitude, conductor's action, conductor's courteous manners helped him to work in a very, very friendly environment. So that is what the author wants to point out. So he is telling that such a person he has praised such kind of a person because he is quoting two people here in the last paragraph. He has quoted Keats and telling nothing can clear our spirits like a fine day. So everybody's spirits are cheered by the action of the friendly conductor, and also everybody's action was everybody behaved in a friendly manner in the bus because of the action of this conductor. He is telling, as the Wordsworth was able to study a lot, learn lessons from the poor leech gatherer, so also the public can study from the life of this very polite bus conductor, so that they can also study a lot and change the situation around us, change the environment around us. So that is what the author wants to point out through the life of this friendly, polite bus conductor. So at last the author is coming to the concluding part of this essay, and he is telling it's a matter of that war can cause a lot of bad effect on the life of people behavior, and so you can see the time between 1917 and 1945 when two world wars was fighting. The people were in so much in pain and sorrow and depression and all kind of fear, because and nothing was happening at this time because people were in constant fear of wars. So war can cause a lot of, or in our social sense, if you are in enmity with people, you can cause a lot of problems in our working and in our daily environment life. So you can see we must get those civilities back if we are to make the life friendly and tolerable for each other. We have to bring it. If you want, it's not for only for others, it's for yourself. If you want to work in a friendly environment, you have to be friendly with others. If you are not friendly with others, you have to work in a very hostile environment. We should value the actions that sweeten the atmosphere, that will help us to make a life kindly, beautiful, livable place if we flavor our actions with kindness, courtesy, and humor. Law has limitations. Don't think that law can do everything. Law cannot do anything. Police are all needed. They are only a part of the society. They cannot do anything to make these kinds of friendly atmosphere. Neither law can make it, neither police can make it. But who can make it? The people like us can make it. When we are friendly towards others, when we are courteous towards others, when we are good towards others, when we are having positive traits in our life, we can bring a lot of change in our society. Who is benefited? We are benefited, and others are also benefited. The whole society is benefited. So you can see that if you are making the things hostile, you will work in a hostile atmosphere. You will live in a hostile atmosphere. If you are making everything friendly and happy, you can live in a friendly, happy atmosphere. So he's telling the society needs that. He's telling lower than angels. So imperfect society. Society is still imperfect because people are not in that way of dealing with others. People are not still courteous to each other. So, nor will the liftman way of meeting moral affront. The way that he has acted, he is coming back to the liftman and saying, he was coming back to the liftman and telling that uh, about the subtle revenge. So he's telling that we can only bring back this kind of politeness in our society. So that is what he wants to say. It is depends on every individual in the society to bring a friendly environment in the society. So at last the author is coming back to the liftman again, and he is telling the liftman would have got more revenge on the passenger, apt revenge on the passenger. But it would have been a subtle revenge, but it is apt revenge. The writer suggests that the subtle revenge, like showing politeness to impolite, rude, and ill mannered people. If the liftman had treated the gentleman who refused to say please with enough politeness, he would have had the victory not only over that rude person but also over himself. And such a victory is invaluable, priceless, and sweet also. So that is what the author wants to say. So he should have been more polite towards the passenger who was being haughty with him. Then he could have taken a subtle revenge over him. And he is telling the polite man may lose material advantage, but he always has a spiritual victory. I commend to the liftman the story of Chesterfield. At last he is going to describe the story of Chesterfield. And what is the story of Chesterfield? He is telling that Chesterfield was in those times when London was very busy, crowded, and congested pavements, and people could not walk. Only one man could walk, and the second man had to move out onto the road to allow the other to pass. But sometimes people will move towards the wall to avoid the vehicles passing on the road. But one day Chesterfield was going on the way, and another man was coming in the opposite direction. And this man suddenly told, I never give the wall to the scoundrel. Because he told in this way that he wants to walk through the wall side, and he has to go out to the road and give him way. At last, what was the reply of Chesterfield? When this man told, I will not give the wall to the scoundrel, he told, I always do, or I will give the wall. So, in a humorous way, he has encountered him, and he stepped out and how on to the road, into the road. I hope the liftman will agree that his revenge was much more sweet than if he had flung the fellow than had the flung the fellow into the mud. So rather than putting him out of the lift, he should have behaved the way Chesterfield would have behaved to his opponent. Then it would have been a humorous way he would have behaved, and or a more polite way he should have behaved, and then the revenge would have been sweeter. So I hope you understood the importance of good manners, good courteous way of dealing with others, so that you can sweeten the atmosphere of people around you and you can be happy. Humor is one of that, and all those things you can use so that you can create a lovely environment around you. It is good for all of us to work and live in a very, very happy, healthy environment.